should be in jail. Literally, Hillary Clinton should be behind bars. And so should the people who worked for her who did this. This is so blatantly corrupt. She wanted to distract from her email scandal. She cooked up a plan to accuse Trump of being a Russian agent in order to distract from her own legitimate scandal. She made up a scandal about Trump being a Russian asset. And they banked on the intel agencies working with her to perpetuate this lie, and it appears they were only too happy to assist.
Y'all have got to see this. So, Brittany Griner has just been banned from the WNBA after this situation with Caitlin Clark went viral, where she made some extremely racist remarks. WNBA's Brittany Griner is, in fact, a man. You could possibly speculate, okay, is Brittany trans then? What's the situation here? But there aren't any top surgery scars. I don't give a fuck about women's sports. So the Atlanta Dream just pulled the ultimate sneaky move by allegedly benching Brittany Griner indefinitely. And no, it's not for the reasons you'd think any player should be benched. Poor performance? Injury? None of that. Allegedly, they benched her because of a DNA scandal they've been trying to keep under wraps for weeks. But get this, players are now starting to speak up. And it's bad. So bad that it's looking like this could take the league down entirely. Because if what they're saying is true, then this wasn't just a team decision. It was a coordinated cover-up. One that started the second Brittany's test results hit that private lab. And the best part of all this? It was someone from inside the WNBA who leaked it. It literally doesn't get messier than this, guys. So let's get into it. Have you noticed some of Brittany Griner's strange behavior behind WNBA Commissioner Catherine Angel-Burt? This may be the real reason why she is still in the league. Okay, before anything else, we have to talk about the dramatic moment when Brittany found out she was being given the boot. So Brittany Griner shows up for pre-game warm-ups, fully suited. According to witnesses, Brittany didn't limp into the training session or anything. She had no signs of injury. She looked perfectly normal. But 10 minutes before tip-off, the head coach pulls her aside. The conversation wasn't publicized, but witnesses didn't miss the tense reaction from Brittany as the coach delivered the news. Eventually, it was revealed that cameras caught the tail end of the conversation, and as you can see, Brittany looks confused. Shortly after, the news got out, and the Dream PR team dropped a non-health-related personal issue statement to explain Brittany's sudden absence from future training sessions and games. But that's not even the wild part. Within an hour, 2 of Brittany's teammates from the bench posted the exact same thing on IG stories. Y'all still protecting this? LOL bet. But just like the earlier statement, they both deleted it before it could start making the rounds. Now, here's where things take a downward spiral. Remember that whole rumor from back in April? The one about Griner allegedly failing a private DNA verification ordered by her ex? Back then, people thought it was just internet noise. But what didn't make headlines is that the lab results actually got leaked to a WNBA exec. And guess what? Turns out it wasn't just a paternity issue. It was a full genetic mismatch. What's interesting is that insiders claimed the league went into panic mode immediately after this little detail dropped. Up until that point, it was clear the team had been willing to sweep the whole thing under the rug. But with a paper trail like that, there was no telling who could get their hands on such a sensitive piece of information. Ready? Writer. She said at a press conference that she will be speaking out about trans athletes being allowed to play. I believe if you've been transitioning to a woman but you still have the strength of a guy, you got to play with the guys, man. That's how I feel about it. But Brittany Griner, we got you home. Slow down. So here's what changed everything. One of the league's own medical advisors allegedly shared the findings with the Dream's front office off the record. However, someone in that office wasn't playing ball, because they didn't waste any time forwarding the lab findings to 2 players. But it wasn't just any random 2 players. It was 2 people who had already been side-eyeing Brittany Griner for months. Now it's not like they had in it. Don't know. The Dream's locker room hasn't exactly been united lately. Ever since Brittany Griner joined, insiders say there's been tension, especially with younger players who felt like they were forced to accept her status. One player reportedly told her agent, "I'm not sitting next to someone who lied about who they are. and I don't care who's protecting her. Another player, who's conveniently now on leave, was said to have confronted management directly, demanding a full team disclosure about Britney's records. As expected, management refused. Mind you, this was before the documents ever leaked. And now that the confirmed results have been making the rounds in private circles, the silence from the team says everything. But here's where it gets even messier. This isn't just a team issue anymore. The WNBA league office allegedly advised the Dream to keep Gurrier off the court indefinitely while they evaluate next steps. But they're not saying that publicly. The official statement was taken down within minutes. And from all indications, the team and the league's management intend to keep this from the public eye until further notice. Meanwhile, league insiders are running around trying to figure out who leaked the report, because it wasn't supposed to leave the lab. And the fact that it did mean someone with access, someone higher up, wanted this exposed. However, looking back, the signs were there. Remember when Britney skipped that press tour earlier this year without any explanation? The WNBA said it was fatigue, but now we know that was around the same time the DNA results came in. Also, remember when she was suddenly pulled from a Nike campaign in May? They never announced why, just quietly removed her name and likeness. Then there was the weird moment when a teammate visibly dodged her high five during a televised game. Yeah, none of that seems random now. What seems more likely is that certain people have been taking note of all the behind-the-scenes drama. A scandal of this scale should have had official statements flying around like confetti, but it's just been silence. Even worse, none of Britney's teammates seem to care enough to support her publicly, even though this scandal could quite literally ruin her career. So, the real question becomes, what's the league actually trying to protect? Because legally, the WNBA can't force a player to disclose personal medical data unless it impacts gameplay. But if a player's gender identity or genetic data directly contradicts league eligibility rules, that's a whole other issue. Interestingly, despite the league's alleged attempts to protect her in the last few months, some execs allegedly secretly hoped the medical records would become public, so there would be a valid reason to throw her under the bus. But this isn't just about policy. It's personal now. Sources close to the Dream say the locker room is split into two camps. On one hand, some think the league should have protected Gurrier's privacy at all costs. On the other hand, some players feel lied to, like they were forced to share a locker room with someone who never gave them the full truth. One player reportedly said, "We've been told to stand for equality, but when we asked for honesty, they told us to shut up." Another leak screenshot shows a group chat where multiple Dream players were asking if management knew the whole time. When you remember that the league spent a fortune promoting its No Space for Hate campaign, it truly puts things into perspective. And the worst part? No one's answering. The WNBA's Britney Gurrier is in fact a man. You could possibly speculate, okay, is Britney trans then? What's the situation here? But there aren't any top surgery scars. I don't give a fuck about women's sports. And I think that most people probably don't care about women's sports, except the women who have been training their whole lives to make it onto a women's sports team. Like, if this is a successful transition and Britney is on cross-sex hormones, that means Britney has more testosterone, artificially induced testosterone, in their system than their female counterparts on the team. So it's unequal. It's unbalanced. There's fault there, but also, if he is a male, then it's messed up from both perspectives. Yeah, the only way that she's totally innocent is if she's actually a girl and has always been a girl. As for Britney herself, she hasn't said a word about any of this. Not on socials, not to the press, not even through her reps. And that's rare because she's not the type to just go quiet like that. But people close to her say she's completely devastated. Not because of the benching, but because she never thought it would get this far. One insider claims she was trying to handle it privately. Allegedly, she even offered to sit out a few games voluntarily, while they figured out what to say publicly. But it just wasn't enough. The team went ahead and benched her without warning. Unfortunately for everyone involved, the internet knows now, and it won't take long for people to start demanding answers. Everyone deserves the right to play. Everyone deserves the right to come here, sit in these seats and feel safe, and not feel like there's a threat, or that they can't be who they are. I definitely will be speaking up against those laws and that legislation that are trying to be passed for sure. Oh, and this isn't just affecting the Dream. Other teams are quietly reevaluating their own internal records. Meanwhile, sponsors are nervous. Nike, Gatorade, and AT&T have all reportedly paused upcoming campaigns that featured Brittany Courier, even the ones already shot. And several outlets have stopped publishing pre-written WNBA features until the league makes a public statement. In other words, this isn't going away. Somebody has to answer for all this, and the more they push it away, the more complicated it gets. Multiple sources now say the whistleblower is a former player turned league official who allegedly felt like the truth was being buried for politics. She hasn't gone public yet, but insiders say she's preparing to. And when she does, heads are for sure going to roll because she's reportedly planning to reveal how long the league knew about the issue and why they chose to cover it up instead of facing it. Now, this is where things get chaotic because the public opinion is coming in and it is not looking good. Some fans are rallying behind Brittany, saying she deserves privacy and that none of this should affect her career if she's performed well. But others, they're furious. They feel like the league manipulated the conversation around identity and inclusion, but only to protect marketable faces, not to actually tell the truth. And guys, the comments are getting ugly. Screenshots from Reddit threads and Twitter spaces show fans demanding an eligibility audit for every WNBA team. Others are calling this the biggest cover-up in league history, and honestly, they might not be wrong. But here's the thing nobody's talking about. Brittany Griner was never just a player. She was a symbol, a headline, a human talking point. And if what's coming out now is true, it just proves that this symbol was built on a foundation nobody double-checked. Now, that doesn't make her a villain, but it does make the silence around her case feel even louder because the question isn't just what did Brittany do? The question is who knew and why did they stay quiet? And now that Brittany is benched, the dream is imploding and one leak test might just blow the lid off the entire WNBA. Because if this was a cover-up, the fallout has only just begun. She still walks into rooms like the presidency was stolen from her by fate, as if destiny left her on read. But Megyn Kelly didn't let that fantasy breathe. She stomped on it with the force of a decade's worth of reality checks and a closet full of unanswered questions. Hillary's biggest strength has always been surviving scandals, not solving them. She dusted them off, lit them up, and turned them into a fireworks show of political absurdity. There's no version of Hillary that hasn't been beta tested by a committee of consultants. Every haircut, every speech inflection, every attempt at a viral quote. It's all factory produced and rolled out like a focus group brand launch. But Megyn stripped it back to the basics. Behind the branding is someone who's rewritten her narrative more times than she's answered a direct question. And that's where the roast hits hardest, right in the carefully manufactured myth. Hillary isn't feared anymore. She's studied, analyzed, mocked. Megyn made it clear. Whatever mystery used to exist around her has long evaporated under the heat of too many comebacks and too few answers. She's not a phoenix. She's a rerun. And every time she rises, it's with less flame and more stage smoke. The political world has moved on. New players, new drama, fresh disasters. But there Hillary is, still trying to audition for a role that's already been canceled. Megyn didn't have to shout it. She just walked through the wreckage and pointed to the empty spotlight. And that's the sting. Hillary built a legacy she can't escape. A name that's more punchline than promise. And in the end, Megyn didn't just destroy the myth. She reminded everyone why no one's buying the sequel.